Welcome to Stoic Philosophy for Life. This is not just a place to listen to books, it's a space to feel them with your soul. Here, we illuminate your mind with timeless lessons. Awaken your inner strength, cultivate self-minded discipline, and guide your journey of personal growth. Every word is carefully chosen to reach what you're truly seeking: peace, clarity, and lasting transformation. If this feels like the place for you, hit subscribe and walk this path with us every single day. Now, put on your headphones, take a deep breath, and begin the journey of renewing your mind and your life.
How to be silently attractive. 11 socially attractive habits. Have you ever met someone who walks into a room and does not need to say a word to be noticed? They do not dress to impress. They do not speak over others. Yet somehow their presence speaks louder than anything they could have said. That is silent attractiveness. It is not about dominating attention. It is about radiating calm strength, quiet confidence, and a kind of magnetism that draws people in without even trying. It is rare. It is real, and it is powerful. In a world that rewards noise, what if your greatest strength was in your silence? What if true attraction was not about chasing approval, but about becoming deeply aligned with who you are, steadfast, grounded, and quietly magnetic? In this episode, we will explore 11 timeless habits, inspired by Stoic wisdom principles that will help you stop trying to impress and start becoming someone who commands quiet respect. Stay with me until the end, and you will not just understand these habits, you will begin to live them. If this message moved you, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more truths that shift your perspective. Let us begin with the first habit. Embrace your authentic independence. There is a quiet power in those who do not need constant validation to feel worthy. They walk their path not in defiance of others, but in reverence of their own values. Authentic independence is not arrogance. It does not shout, "I do not need anyone." Instead, it whispers, "I know who I am, and that is enough." In a world of comparisons and approval seeking, this kind of independence is magnetic. It says, "I am not chasing, I am becoming." And people cannot help but pay attention to that. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." That strength is your independence. Not the loud, rebellious kind, but the steady internal compass that keeps you centered when the world pulls in every direction. When you are truly independent, you do not beg for acceptance, you offer presence. You do not follow trends, you follow truth. Your truth. But let us be honest, independence is not easy. It means choosing your own path even when others question it. It means saying no when it is uncomfortable. It means sitting alone not because you are lonely, but because you value your own company. And over time, that quiet discipline shapes you into someone others respect without you asking for it. Think of it this way: most people live in echo chambers, needing likes, comments, and praise to feel seen. But you step outside the noise. You become grounded in what actually matters. And in doing so, you create a life that does not need applause. It commands respect by the way it feels. Calm, confident, whole. If you want to cultivate this kind of presence, start by asking yourself one question: am I living in alignment with what I truly value, or am I performing for the world? That question alone will clarify the small ways in which you betray yourself for approval. And once you see them, you can change them. Spend time alone, not scrolling, not escaping, just being. Go for walks without your phone. Sit in silence. Journal. Let your thoughts settle. That is where real clarity begins. Because when you are full within, you stop chasing what is outside. And the paradox is this: when you no longer need validation, you become deeply attractive. Not in the loud, look-at-me way, but in the way that people feel when they are around you. Safe, respected, grounded. Authentic independence is not about detachment. It is about depth. It is about knowing yourself so well that your relationships are built on mutual respect, not emotional dependence. And when you live from that place, people notice. They admire not your noise, but your steadiness, not your perfection, but your presence. Because presence, that rare, calm, grounded energy, is what makes you silently magnetic. If you are still here listening, then like me, you are probably done with living passively. Look back at your last 3 decisions. Did they move you forward, or did they come from fear, pressure, or insecurity? The choice to live with quiet strength is not made once. It is made daily. Sometimes the most powerful presence is not the loudest voice, but the calmest one. There is something deeply compelling about someone who walks into a room, says nothing, and yet every head turns. It is not about beauty or charm. It is about silent elegance, the ability to carry yourself with grace, composure, and quiet confidence in every situation. In a noisy world, elegance is rebellion, not in defiance, but in refinement. It is subtle, thoughtful, and intentional. It says, I do not need to impress, I just need to be. And that stillness, that restraint, it speaks volumes. Think of someone who walks slowly, makes eye contact, and moves with quiet purpose. They do not rush, they do not flinch, and they do not need to prove anything. That is silent elegance. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." Elegance, then, is strength made still. It is power under control. When you master your body language, when your posture is open, your steps deliberate, your gaze steady, you project authority without aggression. You create presence without performance. And that is unforgettable. But silent elegance goes beyond appearance. It shows in your manners, how you treat people, how you listen, how you pause before speaking, not to hesitate but to respect the moment. It shows in how you let others finish their thoughts, in how you resist the urge to dominate a conversation. You are not withholding, you are being intentional. And that intention becomes your signature. There is a reason elegance stands out. It is rare. Most people are ruled by reactivity. They talk too fast, move too quickly, and speak before thinking. But you move through life with calm precision, and people feel that. They may not say it aloud, but they sense it, and they admire it. To cultivate this habit, start with mindfulness. Pay attention to how you show up. Are you rushing? Are you reactive? Are you trying too hard? Begin slowing down, not to be seen, but to be present. Walk with intention. Speak with clarity. Dress with simplicity and refinement, not to follow trends, but to reflect the steadiness inside of you. Simplicity is not plainness. It is elegance without noise. The Stoics practiced this too. Seneca once said, "Let your outward appearance be simple and dignified, reflecting the serenity of your mind." That is the essence of silent elegance. It is your inner clarity made visible. If you are wondering how to start, begin in the small moments. When you greet someone, look them in the eye. When you listen, truly listen, not just for words, but for meaning. When you walk into a room, do not try to shrink or dominate. Just be grounded in yourself. Stand tall, breathe, smile gently, and let your presence speak. Because when you embody silent elegance, you create space for others to be at ease. You do not demand admiration. You earn it quietly, consistently, and with grace. And that kind of elegance, it lingers long after the moment has passed. If you are still here, it means you are drawn to something deeper than superficial charm. You are beginning to understand that your presence is your power, not how much you say, but how deeply you show up. This is how you begin to shift the room without raising your voice. Sometimes it is not the words you speak or the clothes you wear that make people remember you. It is the unseen, the quiet, the subtle things. One of the most overlooked traits of silent attraction is something almost invisible but deeply unforgettable, the subtle scent of sophistication. We often underestimate the power of scent, yet it is one of the most instinctive emotional senses we have. A single breath can trigger a memory, evoke a feeling or shift the entire mood of a moment. A soft, clean fragrance, never overpowering, never forced, can speak louder than 1,000 compliments. It says, "I pay attention." It says, "I care," without ever needing to speak. Think back. How many times have you remembered someone just because of how they smelled? Not because they drenched themselves in cologne, but because there was something gentle, refined, and calming about their presence. That is not an accident. That is intentional. And intention is silently attractive. But sophistication through scent is not just about choosing a fragrance. It is about how you carry yourself, your hygiene, your grooming, your overall attention to detail. Cleanliness, fresh breath, well-maintained hair, these are not acts of vanity. They are signs of self-respect. They whisper, "I value myself. I respect the space I enter, and I show that respect without needing applause." The Stoics spoke little about appearance, but much about alignment. Seneca said, "Let your outward appearance reflect the serenity of your mind." That means if your mind is composed, your presence should mirror that. And that includes the subtle art of caring for yourself, not extravagantly but consistently, not for others but for yourself. Choose a scent that resonates with your essence, something earthy, clean, or subtle, something that lingers, not dominates. Let it become part of your presence, not a mask, but a mirror of who you are. When you show that level of self-awareness, it makes you quietly unforgettable, because you are not trying to be noticed, you are trying to be. Then comes another habit, perhaps the most powerful of all, being fully present. In a world drowning in distraction, presence is rare. Most people live half-aware, eyes glued to their screens, minds somewhere else. But there is something profoundly magnetic about a person who is truly there. When you speak to them, they are not checking their phone. They are not thinking about what they will say next. They are with you, fully, quietly, entirely. And that presence, it makes you feel seen, heard, valued. It is one of the greatest gifts a human being can give. Being present is not about perfection. It is about intention. It is not about saying the right words. It is about being there in the right spirit. When you are present, people feel it. They feel your focus, your calm, your curiosity, and they remember that feeling long after the conversation ends. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present, not because the past does not matter, not because the future should be ignored, but because now is the only moment that can truly be lived." And those who master the now become rare and irresistible. Presence is also about emotional awareness. When you listen, do you truly absorb, or are you just waiting to speak? When someone shares pain, do you rush to fix it or sit with it? When you enter a room, do you adapt to its rhythm or force your own? These questions shape your presence, and your presence shapes your influence. To cultivate this practice mindfulness not as a trend, but as a way of life. Put your phone down when someone is talking. Breathe before you respond. Observe the mood of the room. Listen not to reply, but to understand. The person in front of you should feel like in that moment, they are the only person who matters. That kind of attention is magnetic. People will feel safer with you, more open, more at ease. You do not need charm. You need presence. You do not need clever words. You need real attention, and that creates connection. And connection creates trust, and trust, that is the heart of true attraction. Ask yourself, when was the last time you were fully present with someone? No distractions, no multitasking, just there, listening, engaging, breathing with them. If that feels rare, it is, and that is exactly why it is powerful. If you are still here, still listening, then presence already matters to you. Maybe you are tired of surface-level noise. Maybe you crave deeper connections. If so, start with yourself. Show up fully, and you will start attracting others who are ready to do the same. In an age where everyone seems eager to share everything, there is something powerful, almost rebellious, about keeping a part of yourself sacred. A touch of mystery is not about playing games. It is not about being distant or emotionally unavailable. It is about restraint. It is about depth. And depth by nature cannot be revealed all at once. When you meet someone who does not overshare, who chooses their words carefully, who does not feel the need to explain every move they make, you lean in. They make you wonder. And that wondering creates intrigue. Mystery is not loud. It does not shout for attention. It whispers, "There is more to me than what you see." And that whisper can echo louder than any speech. But being mysterious does not mean being cold. It means being selective. You share when it matters. You speak when it adds value. You show emotion, but you do not perform it. You let people earn access to your deeper layers. And in doing so, you teach them to value connection, not consume it. Epictetus once said, "Be silent, or let your words be worth more than silence." This is not about suppression, it is about significance. Words matter more when you do not throw them carelessly. Attention means more when you do not give it to everyone. And your story becomes more powerful when you tell it at the right moment to the right person. Think of the people who have left the strongest impression on you. Were they loud or were they intentional? Did they spill everything in the first 5 minutes, or did they reveal themselves over time, layer by layer, in a way that kept you curious? That curiosity, that space between what is said and unsaid, is what mystery creates. To cultivate this, start by becoming more intentional with your exposure. Ask yourself, am I sharing this to connect or to be liked? There is a difference. When you share with meaning, your words hold weight. When you hold something back, not to hide, but to protect, people feel that too. They respect it, and they lean in. Mystery is not withholding out of fear. It is protecting your depth until it can be appreciated. And that kind of restraint, it is magnetic. Then there is the habit that shapes not just your presence, but your perspective, cultural wisdom. There is an undeniable attraction to someone who understands the world, not because they memorized facts, but because they see people. They listen, they learn, they ask questions. They are not trapped in their own worldview, they are open, and openness is quietly powerful. Cultural wisdom is not about travel or language skills. It is about humility. It is about curiosity. It is about sitting with someone from a different background and saying, "Teach me, I want to understand." That kind of mind-open, respectful, thoughtful is unforgettable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look beneath the surface. Let not the outward appearances mislead you." Cultural wisdom allows you to do exactly that. It trains your eyes to see depth in every person. It gives you the patience to listen to stories you have not lived. And in doing so, it turns you into someone people feel safe around. Because when someone senses that you will not judge them, they let down their guard. When they feel you are curious, not critical, they open up. And that opening creates connection. Deep, real, magnetic connection. To develop this kind of presence, read more, not just for facts, but for understanding. Watch stories that challenge your view of the world. Speak to people whose lives look nothing like yours. And most importantly, listen, not to respond, but to receive. That is how cultural wisdom is built, through open ears and an open heart. But here is the quiet secret: you do not need to announce how wise you are. The more you know, the less you need to say. Let your understanding show in your empathy. Let your experience show in your questions. Let your awareness show in the way you carry silence, not with discomfort, but with grace. Because someone who is culturally wise, who listens more than they speak, who respects what they do not fully understand, that person becomes deeply attractive. Not for what they say, but for how they make others feel. Safe, respected, seen. Ask yourself, do people leave conversations with me feeling more understood or more misunderstood? If the answer is unclear, then that is your invitation. Learn more, judge less, be curious, be still, Be someone whose very presence feels like a space where people can breathe. If you are still listening, you already know this true attractiveness has nothing to do with performance. It has everything to do with presence. And presence is sharpened by the depth of your character, not the volume of your voice. In a world that moves fast, where people often speak before they listen and react before they understand, compassion becomes a rare kind of power, not the loud, performative kind, but the kind that is quiet, steady, and deeply felt. The heartbeat of compassion is not about being soft. It is about being strong enough to care when others do not. And that strength, it is magnetic. There is something undeniably attractive about a person who does not rush to judge, who pauses before reacting, who offers kindness not because it is convenient, but because it is who they are. Compassion does not demand the spotlight. It does not need applause. It leaves its mark in silence, in a look, in a word, in a moment of understanding that says, "I see you." Most people are busy trying to impress, but the truly attractive ones, they make you feel important. They listen when you speak. They notice the things you are too tired to say. They offer space instead of solutions. And in doing so, they create something rare, emotional safety. Marcus Aurelius, often seen as one of history's greatest Stoics, said, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." That is the Stoic form of compassion. It does not mean you let others walk over you. It means you remain grounded in your strength while extending grace to those who are still finding theirs. To cultivate compassion, you must begin with attention. Listen not to reply, but to understand. Look at people not as problems to fix, but as humans to feel. When someone is speaking, resist the urge to turn the conversation back to yourself. Let them be heard. That alone is healing. Then be patient with others and with yourself. Life is not clean or perfect. People make mistakes. You make mistakes. Compassion is not pretending those things do not matter. It is remembering that people matter more. But do not confuse compassion with weakness. It is not passive. It is not naive. It is intentional. And intention, especially when rooted in kindness, leaves a legacy long after words are forgotten. People may not remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. That is the real attraction. Now pair that compassion with another rare trait: laughter and joy. We live in a world that often feels heavy. The news is loud. The expectations are endless. The pressure to be serious, productive, or perfect can crush even the strongest spirits. But then you meet someone who laughs, not carelessly, but joyfully. Someone who finds light in the small things. Someone who brings warmth into the room, not because they are trying to, but because they are light. And suddenly everything feels easier, lighter, more human. Laughter is not a weakness. It is a sign of resilience. When you can smile in the midst of stress, when you can laugh at your mistakes, when you can see the absurdity in life without becoming bitter, you become someone others want to be around. Why? Because your energy heals. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Choosing joy, even in the face of struggle, is one of the most powerful reactions you can have. It shows you are in control, not of the world, but of your spirit. Joy is not about ignoring reality. It is about refusing to let pain define it. It is about knowing that even in difficulty, there is still beauty. There are still reasons to laugh, to celebrate, to smile. And that mindset, it is contagious. People are drawn to those who remind them that life is still worth enjoying. To cultivate joy, start with the ordinary. Notice what makes you smile. A piece of music, a warm cup of tea, the way sunlight hits the floor. These are not meaningless details. They are doorways to gratitude, and gratitude opens the heart to joy. Then share it. Make someone laugh without forcing it. Let your humor be honest, never cruel. Laugh at your own awkwardness. Tell a light story. Offer a compliment that surprises someone. These are small acts, but they build the kind of presence that lifts others up. And when you lift others, you rise with them. Ask yourself, when was the last time you let joy move through you, not because everything was perfect, but because you allowed yourself to feel alive, even in the mess? That kind of joy, the grounded, humble humankind, is not loud. It does not seek attention. It creates connection. And that connection is one of the most silently attractive forces on earth. If you are still here, you already understand this. The people we remember most are not always the most talented or the most beautiful. They are the ones who made us feel something, who offered kindness when no one else did, who helped us laugh when we wanted to cry, who made us feel a little more human. You can be that person, not by changing who you are, but by remembering who you are underneath all the noise. There is a quiet kind of magnetism in someone who takes care of themselves, not to impress others, not to chase validation, but because they have decided to live in alignment with their worth. The art of self-care is not about spa days or routines for show. It is about consistently honoring your physical, mental, and emotional well-being as a sacred responsibility. And that kind of discipline done in silence radiates a powerful presence. We often admire people who appear calm, balanced, and full of energy, but what we really admire is their commitment, their consistency, the way they show up for themselves even when life gets chaotic. They eat well, they rest, they move their bodies, they protect their peace, not because they are trying to be perfect, but because they are choosing not to betray themselves. Seneca once wrote, "A sound mind in a sound body is a short but full description of a happy state." Self-care is Stoicism in action. It is the deliberate act of nurturing the vessel that carries your mind and soul. It is not indulgence. It is responsibility. When you take care of yourself, you move differently. You make decisions from clarity, not chaos. You speak from wholeness, not neediness. You show up to relationships not asking to be rescued, but ready to share the strength you have cultivated within. That makes you quietly irresistible. And it begins with small habits: going to bed on time, moving your body daily, drinking more water, saying no when your body is tired, creating time for stillness. These are not glamorous, but they are foundational, and foundation is what holds everything else. But beyond the body, self-care means tending to your emotions. It means journaling when your mind is heavy, breathing when anxiety creeps in, asking for help when you need it, saying "I need space" when your peace is at risk. This is not weakness, it is wisdom, and wisdom lived consistently becomes your power. Then there is another habit that elevates you in every social interaction: emotional intelligence and social awareness. We have all felt the difference between someone who truly sees us and someone who is just waiting for their turn to speak, between someone who de-escalates tension with calm presence and someone who adds fuel to every fire. That difference, it is emotional intelligence. To be silently attractive is to be emotionally steady. It is to know your triggers and not let them control you. It is to recognize the emotions of others and respond not with ego but with empathy. Epictetus reminded us, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." That is not just wise, it is deeply attractive. People are drawn to those who listen, who observe, who respond with intention rather than impulse. Imagine being the person in the room who can sense when someone needs support without them saying a word. The person who knows when to speak gently and when silence is more powerful. That kind of awareness is not taught, it is cultivated through presence, through humility, through choosing to care more about connection than control. To build this habit, start with self-awareness. Ask yourself, when I am emotionally triggered, do I pause? Do I breathe? Do I reflect? Or do I react? Emotional mastery is not the absence of feeling. It is the ability to hold your feelings with grace. Then move outward, practice empathy, not the shallow kind, the real kind. When someone speaks, try to feel what they feel. Do not correct, do not fix, just be there. That alone is transformative. And social awareness, that is about tuning in. When you enter a room, observe before you act. When you are with others, notice body language, energy, tone. These things tell you more than words. And when you learn to read them, you respond not to impress, but to connect. Emotional intelligence is quiet. It does not need to declare itself. People feel it in how safe they feel around you, in how easily they open up, in how they leave the conversation feeling understood, not analyzed. If you are still here listening, then you are probably someone who has been on both sides. You have been misunderstood. You have been judged. And now you want to be the person who offers something different. You want to be the calm in the storm, the grounded voice in the noise, the presence that makes others feel deeply seen. That is the kind of presence that changes lives, not by force, but by example. There are traits that sparkle for a moment, and then there are those that stand the test of time. In a world that often celebrates charisma, style, or charm, there is something far more valuable, far more quietly powerful: consistency and reliability. When you meet someone who does what they say they will do without needing reminders, without making excuses, without turning every commitment into a performance, you remember them. You trust them. You want them around. Because in a world of unpredictability, their steadiness is rare, and rarity is always attractive. Reliability is not loud. It does not ask for credit. It shows up again and again, whether anyone is watching or not. Consistency is what transforms small habits into unshakable character. It is what makes your word carry weight. It is what tells the world, you can count on me not because you declared it, but because you lived it. Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. That is the essence of consistency. You do not talk about your values. You live them, quietly, repeatedly, until who you are and what you do become one and the same. Think about how rare that is. Most people break promises to themselves daily. They say they will wake up early, but they snooze. They say they will call, but forget. They say they will change, but drift. It is not because they are bad people. It is because they lack the muscle of consistency. And without it, even the best intentions fall apart. But when you build that muscle through small daily acts, you become someone others trust. Someone they look to when things are uncertain, not because you shout for attention, but because you radiate stability. And that stability, it creates safety. In conversations, in relationships, in leadership, in love. To cultivate consistency, start small. Do not try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Pick one thing, one habit, one promise, and keep it every day, especially on the days you do not feel like it. That is where trust is built, with yourself first. Because when you keep promises to yourself, you begin to carry yourself differently. You walk taller. You speak with less need to prove. You become reliable not just to others, but to your own path. Reliability is also emotional. It means people know what version of you they are going to get. Not someone who swings with every mood or vanishes in hard times, but someone who brings a steady, grounded energy. That steadiness becomes a light for others. It tells them, you are safe here. Ask yourself, can people count on me not just when it is easy, but when it is inconvenient? If the answer makes you pause, good. That is where your growth lives. Reliability is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about being there, showing up, following through, quietly, strongly, consistently. When you become that kind of person, you do not need to sell yourself. Your actions speak. Your presence builds trust, and your reputation becomes something people feel before you even walk into the room. And maybe most importantly, consistency is how you build respect for yourself. Every time you follow through, you reinforce that you are someone worth trusting. Every time you stay true to your word, you strengthen the foundation of your character. That is not something you can fake. It is something you earn, one decision at a time. If you are still listening, then you understand something most people miss. Real power is not found in moments of intensity. It is found in the quiet repetition of what matters, in the daily return to your values, in the unglamorous, unshakable choice to stay the course. That is what makes you silently magnetic. Not the noise you make, but the strength you bring. Not the promises you shout, but the ones you keep. True attractiveness does not shout. It does not chase. It does not demand. It simply exists, firm, steady, and quietly magnetic. And now, after walking through these 11 habits, you can begin to see the pattern. None of them are about performance. None of them require you to become someone else. They all point to one truth: you do not need to be loud to leave a lasting impression. You just need to live aligned. Let us take a moment to reflect. You have learned the power of authentic independence, how self-respect shines brighter than validation-seeking ever could. You have mastered silent elegance, the art of showing up with grace, poise, and self-possession. You have explored the subtle scent of sophistication, not in fragrance alone, but in the way attention to detail reflects care and intention. You have seen how presence, the rare act of truly being with someone, creates deeper connection than any clever words. You have embraced a touch of mystery, letting people uncover you slowly with curiosity. You have opened your mind to cultural wisdom, learning how depth, empathy, and open-hearted understanding turn you into someone worth listening to. You have felt the heartbeat of compassion not in grand gestures, but in small acts of kindness that linger. You have remembered the lightness of laughter and the healing joy it brings. You have practiced self-care not as vanity, but as a declaration that your peace, your health, your energy matter. You have cultivated emotional intelligence and social awareness, becoming someone others trust, because you respond rather than react. And finally, you have stood firm in the most powerful habit of all: consistency, showing up again and again, even when no one is watching. Each of these is a thread, and when woven together, they create a presence that is calm, grounded, and quietly unforgettable. But now the question is not just what you know, it is what you will do with it. These habits are not ideas to admire. They are choices, small, daily choices. How you greet someone, how you carry yourself when no one is looking, what you say, what you choose not to say, what you value when things get hard, what you hold on to when the world pushes you to perform. That is how silent attraction is cultivated. Not through sudden change, but through repeated alignment with your deepest values. If you want to become someone who walks into a room and leaves a mark without speaking, you do not need to fake confidence. You need to build character. You need to become someone whose presence tells a story before their mouth opens. Because presence is not given. It is earned. It is shaped by your choices, sculpted by your habits, and refined by your awareness. And when you live this way, when you carry yourself with quiet strength, subtle grace, and unwavering intention, people feel it. They may not always be able to explain why, but they will feel it. They will feel safe with you, curious about you, uplifted around you. And that feeling, that is what lingers long after words are forgotten. If you are still here listening, then like me, you are done living for the surface. You are ready to go deeper, not just to impress others, but to become someone you yourself admire. And that shift, that internal decision, is where everything changes. So, start small. Pick one habit, one shift. Maybe you practice true presence today. Maybe you keep one quiet promise to yourself. Maybe you speak a little less and listen a little more. That is all it takes. Not perfection, just presence, just progress. Because the quietly attractive do not rise through noise. They rise through depth, through integrity, through grounded, deliberate action. You do not need to seek attention. You need to live in a way that commands respect. And when you do, the world takes notice, not because you demanded it, but because your energy could not be ignored. There is a quiet rebellion happening away from the noise, the filters, the endless performances of self. More and more people are starting to realize true power is not loud, it is not theatrical, it is not earned through applause, it is built in silence, rooted in self-respect, strengthened by discipline, and expressed through presence. You do not need to reinvent yourself to become silently magnetic. You need to return to yourself, not the self shaped by comparison or the need to impress, but the one that feels most natural when you are alone, grounded, and calm. That version of you, the one not performing, not chasing, is already enough. These 11 habits are not about becoming someone new. They are about stripping away everything that is not you. So how do you live this? How do you move from theory to transformation? You start by changing how you show up in the smallest moments. When you walk into a room, do not scan for attention, scan for peace. Ask yourself, how can I bring steadiness into this space that is silent attraction in motion? When you speak, speak with care. Not every opinion needs to be said. Not every silence needs to be filled. Let your words carry weight by using them less. Let your presence become your message. There is power in being the one who listens, reflects, and responds with intention. When you look in the mirror, ask yourself not, how do I look today, but what energy am I carrying? Your posture, your stillness, your clarity, all of these are part of your silent signal to the world. Make them count. And when you feel the need to prove something, pause, breathe. Ask, what would the strongest version of me do right now? The answer will rarely be to shout, perform, or explain. It will usually be to stand still and stay grounded. This is how character is built. Quietly, repeatedly, not in public victories but in private decisions. Because you are not trying to be impressive. You are becoming undeniable. You are becoming someone whose life speaks louder than their voice. But be warned, this path is not always easy. There will be days when you feel invisible, when it seems like everyone else is getting ahead by shouting, showing off, or pretending. You will be tempted to follow them, to abandon your quiet strength for quick validation. Do not. Stay the course. Because while others burn fast and fade, you are building something slower but deeper. You are building a kind of presence that does not vanish when the crowd leaves. That does not crack under pressure. That lasts. And lasting presence, that is what real attraction is. The Stoics never asked you to be perfect. They asked you to be principled, to act with virtue no matter who is watching, to master yourself before you try to influence the world, to live so that your life, not your words, becomes your philosophy. So now ask yourself, which habit do I need to return to right now? Which one have I neglected? Which one feels alive in me, waiting to grow? You do not need to master them all today. You just need to begin, again, quietly, intentionally. Because becoming silently attractive is not a destination. It is a practice. A way of walking through life that says, I do not need to be the center of attention to be deeply respected. And when you live like that, something shifts. People listen when you speak, not because you speak often, but because you speak with truth. They feel your presence in a room, not because you dominate it, but because you are grounded within it. They remember you not because you impressed them, but because you made them feel something real. Not everything that moves people is visible. Some of the most unforgettable individuals do not wear their confidence, they carry it. Not in their words, but in their energy. You feel it before you see it. That is the quiet power of someone who lives these 11 habits, not once, not occasionally, but as a way of being. That is what you are becoming now. Someone whose energy speaks before their mouth does. Someone who does not need to be explained because their presence already says everything important. The question is not, how can I be attractive? The question is, how can I live in such a way that I no longer need to ask that? When your life aligns with your values, attraction is no longer a pursuit. It is a byproduct. People begin to feel something when you enter the room. Safety, clarity, gravity. You do not force connection. You embody it. You do not tell people you are trustworthy. You move like someone who has nothing to prove and everything to protect, especially your peace. This is the shift most never make. They chase status, chase likes, chase chemistry, but you are learning to attract through alignment, and alignment is stronger than strategy. When your independence is real, people can sense it. When you are no longer trying to impress anyone, you become impossible to forget. When you walk with elegance, when your presence is refined, calm, focused, people feel themselves relax around you. They open up without knowing why. They lean in without realizing it. And it is not just strangers. The people closest to you begin to trust you more. Your words carry more weight. Your silence creates more space. Your steadiness becomes a comfort. But here is the deeper truth. Silent attraction is not about getting others to want you. It is about becoming someone you deeply respect. You start sleeping better because your actions align with your principles. You stop explaining yourself because your life already does the talking. You no longer seek peace, you radiate it. And when that happens, you stop being addicted to feedback. You stop being obsessed with attention. You start to become someone whose self-worth does not rise or fall based on how others respond to you. That kind of freedom, it changes everything. Because once you stop trying to be noticed, you start noticing. You start noticing who drains your energy and who nourishes it. What environments sharpen your mind and which ones dull your purpose. What kind of life feels good on the inside, not just looks good on the outside. And from that awareness comes power. Not loud power, not flashy power, but the kind of power that does not move with trends, the kind that builds foundations, that attracts the right people, that keeps you grounded in storms. There will be moments where you are tested. Someone will misunderstand your silence as weakness. Someone will try to provoke your peace. Someone will mock your calm. Let them. They are still ruled by noise. You are now ruled by clarity, and clarity does not flinch. Because here is the truth about being silently attractive: you will not be for everyone. You are not meant to be. Most people are drawn to what is familiar, fast, and obvious. Your depth will confuse them. Your restraint will frustrate them. Your silence will confront them. But for those who are ready, for those who are looking not for noise but for substance, you will be magnetic. They will feel the way you see them, the way you hold space, the way you listen with your body, not just your ears, the way your actions speak without needing translation. And that is when you will understand this work was never about appearances. It was about resonance. It was about becoming a presence that echoes in people long after you leave the room. If you are still listening, then you already know this truth deep down. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. The most visible person is rarely the most grounded. And the one who impresses the most is often the most unsure. You are not chasing that anymore. You are becoming something different, something unshakable, something quietly unforgettable. You will be tempted to forget this. Not because it is untrue, but because the world is loud. It rewards volume. It praises appearances. It pushes you to perform, to post, to prove. And in the middle of that noise, your silent strength may feel invisible, pointless, even weak. But it is not. Because what the world calls invisible is often what makes the deepest impact. A tree grows in silence. So does character. So does trust. So does real power. And you are no longer growing for attention. You are growing roots. Being silently attractive is not a phase. It is not a strategy. It is a way of being. It is waking up every day and choosing self-respect over attention, depth over performance, stillness over chaos, discipline over indulgence. It is choosing to show up grounded, not because it gets you praise, but because it honors your truth. You do not need to announce who you are becoming. The way you move will say it for you. The way you choose not to overreact. The way you pause before you speak. The way you say no, not with hostility, but with clarity. The way you say yes, not to please others, but because it aligns with your path. People will notice that. They will not always understand it. Some will mistake your calm for coldness. Others will question your distance, your quiet, your lack of neediness. But the right people, the ones who value peace, strength, and substance, they will see you. They will feel your presence before they know your story. Because silent attraction is not about charm, it is about energy. It is the energy of someone who has stopped trying to chase everything and has started choosing what actually matters. Someone who is no longer ruled by insecurity, but anchored in clarity. Someone who lives by principles, not pressure. That kind of presence. It is rare, it is remembered, and it does not need to shout. But here is the key: you must protect it. Because this world will try to pull you back into the noise. It will tempt you with shortcuts. It will convince you that being more visible is more valuable, that performing is power, that louder is better. Do not buy it. Protect your peace like it is sacred, because it is. Protect your routines, your sleep, your stillness, your standards, not because you are trying to be perfect, but because these are the things that make you powerful. Protect your energy from people who confuse chaos with charisma, who try to draw you into drama, who react, project, and distract, not because you are better than them, but because you are committed to something deeper, to presence, to purpose, to a kind of life that is built on clarity and integrity, not attention. And remember, every time you live one of these habits, you leave an invisible mark on the room, on the conversation, on the energy of the people around you. You create space where others feel safe to be more grounded, more honest, more real. That is the quiet leadership of someone who is truly attractive. And if you are still listening, then you are already walking this path, slowly, silently, powerfully. Maybe you have not always been the loudest in the room, but maybe that was never the point. Maybe your strength was never meant to be noise. Maybe it was meant to be stillness that moves people. And now you are beginning to own that. So here we are, at the end of this path and the beginning of another. You have walked through 11 habits, not rules, not tricks, but timeless ways of being, each one pointing you away from noise and back into yourself, each one peeling away the layers that never belonged to you, each one asking not, how do I look, but who am I becoming when no one is watching? Because that is what silent attractiveness really is. It is not a look. It is not a style. It is not even about being noticed. It is about living with such deep alignment, such quiet strength, such deliberate presence that the room shifts when you enter it. Not because of how you speak, but because of how you exist. You become magnetic not through performance, but through peace. Not by winning attention, but by earning trust. Not by impressing the world, but by respecting yourself. And when you do that day after day, moment by moment, something changes. You stop chasing. You start attracting. You stop explaining. You start embodying. You stop needing applause. You start becoming the kind of person who does not need to be admired to be admirable. You carry calm. You radiate dignity. You walk with purpose, and people feel it. Not all will understand it. But those who have been waiting for realness, those who are tired of shallow, of fake, of fast, they will recognize you. They will feel that there is something different about you, something steady, something strong, something safe. That is not something you can fake. That is not something you can buy. That is something you become. And the path to becoming, it never ends. You will have days where you forget, days where you fall back into old patterns, days where you feel invisible again. That is okay, because presence is a practice. And you are not aiming for perfection. You are aiming for alignment, for truth, for peace. And every time you choose these habits, even in small, quiet ways, you are reshaping not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. So here is your invitation. Live with intention. Speak less, but with more weight. Hold your energy like it is sacred, because it is. Set boundaries not to keep people out, but to keep your integrity in. Choose quality over noise, presence over attention, character over performance. Walk slowly. Observe deeply, love fiercely but wisely, and trust that in a world that keeps getting louder, the person who carries calm will always be the most unforgettable. Do not wait to be chosen. Choose yourself. Do not chase attention. Let your life earn respect. And do not underestimate the power of a grounded human being, because when you become one, you give silent permission for others to do the same. This is how we change the world, not with noise, but with presence. If this message stayed with you, take it seriously. Reflect, reread, recommit. And if you know someone who needs this, send it to them. Be the quiet voice that reminds them of their own strength. And remember, the most attractive people are not trying to be. They are simply being, silently, steadily, fully. Thank you for walking this journey. Stay grounded, stay intentional, and above all, stay true to the quiet power already within you.
If this message stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Write one thing down that you'll start doing this week. 2025 doesn't magically change anything you do, and your future begins the moment you decide to move, even just a little.